So the Messi one is an interesting one for me. They came to the conclusion, hey, we'll give him a piece. We'll give him a piece of streaming, which is outrageous and absurd. We're not going to talk about how much it is or how many customers we have, even though Garber sort of intimated and gave us more information than he had ever before. But so they made that decision pretty quickly. And then they made the decision pretty quickly to suspend him and not let him play against Cincinnati after he didn't show up for the All-Star game. So it seems like they're a little selective when they will use speed and when they won't. And targeting Messi, it really was important to me, but I was also surprised by it. What was your reaction?
Yeah, so I think a lot of MLS fans of other clubs would say they were pretty slow and they reluctantly suspended him. And Don Garber kind of said that in a statement to The Athletic, where he was like, this was a really, really difficult decision. And I preface this by saying, if I was advising Messi, I would have told him not to play either. Like, just take the suspension, whatever. But the idea that Miami and the camp were like, he's so upset by this, he can't believe this, whatever the phrasing that Jorge Mas used at the press conference, the league had to suspend him because
Tom, excuse me, go back to what you said. If you were advising Messi,
yeah,
you would have advised him to not play.
Yeah.
In the All-Star game, which is the game of the league that he's trying to build, where he gets profit from more and more exposure to more and more people for Major League Soccer. So I'm sorry, explain that one to me.
So I care, and Messi cares more about on-field competitive games than he does the marketing side of things, the business side of things. And yes, he is the face of the league, but that's not his role. He doesn't do media ever. What he wants to do is be the face of the league by continuing to be one of the best players in the world, which he is. He's played 90 minutes 9 times in the last 35 days. They played on Saturday in New Jersey, fly back to Miami, and then he was going to take a plane to Austin. Again, I know that he flies in comfort. These are not crazy long trips, but the man is 37, 38 years old. He's played 9 games in 35 days. Are you going to make him go fly and play in this friendly game, this exhibition against Liga MX All-Stars? It's Lionel Messi. What does he need from this? But on the other side, understand that comes with a 1-game suspension and build that into your rest too. And last year, Miami played Cincinnati after the All-Star game. And this is a rule that is long-standing at MLS. If you skip the All-Star game, you suspend a game. Because if they don't do that, Messi would never come. Zlatan Ibrahimovic would never come. Zlatan was somebody who was suspended for skipping the All-Star game. And last year, Luis Suarez, it was a little bit murky, a little bit cloudy, whether or not he was injured to miss the All-Star game, and there weren't enough questions asked. And Miami played Cincinnati after the All-Star game, and Luis Suarez played. I'll tell you, FC Cincinnati fans and people at that club have not let me forget that one. And FC Cincinnati were saying 2 of their best players played in the All-Star game. Their best player has played 150 or 200 less minutes than Lionel Messi this year across all competitions. He could have used a break, but he went and played. So if I'm Cincinnati, I would have been on the league office immediately. You have to suspend him. Why did we send our players, but he gets arrested? He gets to play. So that's the right call, while saying the best thing for Lionel Messi's body was to take a rest.
I'm missing something. He actually gets paid for what he does on the field. He gets paid for what he does off the field. And he actually has a financial incentive to grow the game. Why not get on the private plane, land in Austin, meet a couple sponsors, shake a few hands, kiss a few babies, get introduced, go on the field, and then have the number held up. See you later. 4 minutes of the game. You don't have to run that much. You may not even sweat. You're there. You've done what you're supposed to do. Why would you not advise him to do that plan?
I mean, there's an argument there, but I just think that he's bigger than this. And again, he's earned the right to say, I'm just going to skip this. I'm going to take the rest. He wasn't training at all in Miami this week. He didn't return to training, I think, until Friday morning, when they were just still hoping that he wasn't going to get suspended. And I had sources who told me Cincinnati, Friday morning, we're planning for the probability that Messi was going to not get suspended and he was going to play. They didn't find out until after training, right before kind of they made that announcement. So I thought that was interesting. But again, if he needs rest, give him rest. And I'm fine with that. It's just, you need to understand that comes with the consequence. This wasn't a surprise. The big surprise would have been if he didn't get suspended. And if he didn't get suspended, the fans of all the other 29 clubs would have been up in arms. Because, by the way, Saturday, they introduced a new player. His name is Rodrigo De Paul. He's a World Cup winner. His nickname in world football is Messi's bodyguard. He's a great player. He's going to join the team for a $17 million transfer fee in the winter. That'll be the second highest fee in league history. He'll have a contract that's probably around $10 million. All of this makes him a designated player in MLS. But for right now, he's joining on a loan, and there's no obligation to pick up his purchase option. So he's able to be added to the team without using a DP spot. So the fans, like the juxtaposition of that, of like, oh, and by the way, your best player isn't getting suspended. The fans around the league would have been, there's two sets of rules, one for them and one for the rest of us. So the league had to suspend Messi.
We've always thought that Inter Miami had power because of Messi, but it seems that Jorge Mas went after Don Garber after the suspension. You think that when he was pushing back, you think he was doing that for the Messi camp just to make sure that they thought that he had their back? Or do we think there's an issue between Garber and Jorge Mas?
More the former than the latter. There's healthy friction from what I've heard in those owners' meetings with Jorge Mas. Jorge Mas is one of the owners that are saying, let's take the training wheels off. Let's spend more. Let's take away some of the restrictions. Again, it doesn't need to be no salary cap or whatever, but let's move it forward and let's do more. Let me sign Rodrigo de Paul without having to jump through hoops and structure the deal in a way that it's legal for us right now. So there's some of the friction. More of the friction has to do with the low spending owners at MLS that have more control and more power. And Jorge Mas is working to chip away, and fans appreciate him for that, even if, in press conferences and stuff, if you're not a Miami fan, you might not love the guy. But I think he's overall really good for MLS, and he's trying to move the league forward. And I'll tell you, he's always entertaining.
So he used the word draconian, and that's what got me going, because he and then he dropped Messi's very upset. And I would argue that he is likely, according to what you're saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if you have spoken to Messi, he wasn't despondent beyond repair to not play in the All-Star game. He knew that he was going to get suspended, I assume. So what is it? How is it possible that he is upset with the decision?
So I think what Jorge Mas was intimating was a hope, maybe not an expectation, but a hope that, hey, Lionel Messi just played in 9 games, and some of those games were extra games because we were at the Club World Cup. Jorge Mas said this in his press conference. He said Miami's game against PSG at the Club World Cup was reached to 30 million viewers. And this is the first time we're hearing really any numbers, I think, from the Club World Cup. And as you've said in other clips about, just the MLS numbers, 30 million is obviously a massive number. And the whole point is he's the reason why people are tuning in. So, hey, can't you just let it slide? Can't you just let him take this break? Because he played extra games, which was beneficial for the league. And I think Garber generally agreed, or at least he was trying to take the tone publicly of this was such a hard decision. We're going to have to look at this rule to try to not be antagonistic to Mas and the Messi camp. But I think that they were hoping that, hey, he's played a lot of games, and hey, there's extra competitions and all this. And again, I firmly believe that they couldn't bend on that one, but I guess Miami were hoping they were going to.